Good morning, everybody. I'm up with the birds today. I didn't sleep very good last night. Had a lot on my mind. I was thinking about my videos. I feel like I might have came in too strong, like a wrecking ball. That's like a typical Billy thing of me to do. I started out with a very complex subject. So I might have thrown some of these off. So what I'm going to do is go back and reiterate my last video so that I can get these foundational concepts out of the way so that we can get into the good stuff where I think that you guys will relate more and be able to put some input and comment about your opinions and whatnot, because I'm going to get to more personable things and not overall ideas. Okay, what we can take from the last video is that everything starts from the source. On the spiritual side, they say the source is a grand conscience. Call it God if you will. That says, what can I become? On the evolution side, there's the Big Bang Theory and the theory of the black hole. So the black hole's a void in the scientific theory. So in the beginning of initiation, they say everything starts with a thought. So if you put two and two together, that void can be the conscience. Nothing material, just the thought of what can I become. And then from the pressure of wanting to know what I can become, the Big Bang occurs and it breaks out into positives and negatives and creates every aspect and possibility of what it can become. So on the spiritual side with God, it says that God is part of everything and everyone. Well, it makes sense. He himself says, what can I become? And then breaks off into a million pieces of himself so that he can learn what it's like to live every perspective possible. And through that, all the plants, all the universe was created, all the plants, all the animals, and maybe through evolution. Like I said, time's irrelevant. It could have all occurred in those 7 days, or it could have occurred over time as what we believe is time, So so what you can do is take all those concepts and all those ideas and any possibility you can think of, and you think about the Coriolis effect from the scientific version of things, and you think of how things get mixed up in such a manner, and there you got God, or the source, living every possible perspective there is to live. And when we die, we take all our information into the hole, and we come out and we forget and we do it all over again. Crazy stuff. This is what the government don't want you to know, people. We are all divine. We are all perspectives of God, just living different versions of the way life can be lived. Wow, so look how simple I made that sound. This really wasn't that complex at all. Well, I guess to come to the conclusion of all of it, it was very complex. It takes me about 5-6 hours to make a video. I'm so insecure. It's not even funny. This is why I post videos that are jacked up, because if I don't post them when I post them, I'm never gonna post them. I'm gonna come home, look back at them, and I'm gonna like delete it and try to make a whole brand new one. I'll never get a video out there. So you gotta deal with my progress with me. I'm sorry. That's how my emotions are making it play out. So I apologize for all the unprofessional things that I do in these videos. I'm just giving it my best shot. That's all. But anyway, back to the topic of the fact that we are all divine and we're all God. This sounds so cool, right? It's true. It's true. But the universe does not revolve around you. This is a collective idea here. Like, majority of the mass always wins, okay? So don't go getting all ego-ish on us, okay? Don't go getting an ego thinking I'm God in arrogant manner or anything. You're not the only one here in this world. Each of the rest of you means something too, okay? But I'm going back to topic. If we're all God, if you caught it in initiation, which is the spiritual side guy. His name is Matthias De Stefano from Initiation. He is, he always, after a while, he starts to refer to the source as the self, right? Because you think about it itself, like we're all God. So we could all start out as the source. We could all think of ourselves as the source. And this is where it gets fun, because now it's getting personal. So if you're starting out as the source, this is you. This is the dot, right? So that's you, and you're thinking to yourself, in your mom's belly probably, what can I become, right? And out comes a boy or a girl. Uh-oh, Ketsy. I went and did it, didn't I? I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to say boy and girl because we haven't figured that out yet. Because we're not really sure, biologically speaking, as boy and girl, if that's even mixable. So I think that's the worst example to come up with. So let me change it. Actually, guys, I found a perfect video to cover this this topic. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play you the video. It is just perfect. So here you go.
Pursuit of knowledge, we must be free to follow wherever that search may lead us. The free mind is not a barking dog to be tethered on a 10-foot chain. Today, I want to talk about two specific energies that can be expressed through this image. The energy that flows here is male and female energy. Male energy is focused, and female energy is creative and random. Neither of them is greater nor weaker than the other, and both can be extremely powerful when fully manifested. Female energy is the land of unbridled possibilities, creative potential, and affecting the universe from within. Focused male energy takes direct roads from point A to point B. This energy can be as strong as a tank, accomplishing tasks and going where it needs to go with precision and without distraction. The important thing to know about this energy is in how they move. I'm going to use some super basic sacred geometry to demonstrate this. This is the Fibonacci spiral. We're going to be talking a lot more about it when we dive into the topic. For now, all you have to know is that it starts at 1 and flows outward forever in a very specific way, and is present in all life everywhere. As male energy flows through the spiral, it goes from base point to point, from here to here, to here to here. It doesn't curve, it just goes straight where it needs to be. Female energy, however, would flow in the actual spiral. It would go around, going in and around outside all the lines, but still getting to the same or similar results. This is the graphic representation of how it flows, but it also acts in the same way. From this understanding, you can see how we use these energies in our lives. It's the difference between driving straight to work and being on schedule all the time, and taking the scenic route because it's a more pleasant ride, even if it means being late. It's baking a cake strictly by what it says in the cookbook and putting it together with what just feels right. It's getting that promotion for working the hardest and getting that promotion for coming up with the best ideas. Here's a relatable example. It's the difference between Inception and Sucker Punch. Both about dreams, but one of them being the masculine story of professional men just doing their no-nonsense work, trying to get the job done, and the other being the feminine story that was creative and random and, according to many, didn't make much sense. Both male and female energy, like the chakras, have their own traits. Male energy is linear, analytical, strategic, and practical. However, when male energy is constricted, it is very blundering and confrontational, and what tends to occur is not seeing all sides of a situation, or not being open to any other possibility other than the one being pursued. You can see a lot of that in today's society. Most commonly, we call it being closed-minded. Female energy, on the other hand, moves in curves. It does not stay inside the lines. It is creativity and movement and expression and emotion. It can do anything and go anywhere, but it has trouble sticking to schedule. If constricted, it can get out of its flow, running rampant between emotions and mood swings and ideas. The creativity could get jumbled and come out as an out-of-control mess. We don't have this widespread issue in today's society, and it has a lot to do with our brain hemispheres. We're going to look at that in a moment. One big difference between the two is that male energy looks at parts and female energy looks at wholes. Before I go on, I want to make this clear. Male and female energy has very little to do with sexual orientation. Like, it's in the mix, but it's not a fundamental part of the energy itself. For example, if you look at the shape of male and female bodies, men have straighter bodies, women have curvier bodies. We'll probably come back to this in a lesson down the road.
Okay, so now that that's established, thank you, Spirit Science. That's on YouTube. I can post that link in the comments. That's what I'll do. I'll post the Spirit Science link. The whole movie to that is really awesome. It might even get into more detail about that situation. Man, I love diving in. I love knowing everything there is to know. So, back to my drawing board. So, like, this is, I'll even make it, I'll even use me as an example. I won't make it you guys. I'll make it me. This is me. I'm the source right now. And then we will break it off in the masculine and feminine now. I can break it off in the masculine and feminine. Billy described in a masculine and feminine manner. Feminine. I can't spell feminine right now, guys. Feminine. Okay. Anyway, this is me breaking off in the masculine and feminine. So let's talk about masculine and feminine on a spectrum. I like spectrums. Spectrums are wonderful. Contrast is here for a reason. It's so that we can create spectrums. We can create spectrum from masculine to feminine. We can create spectrums out of anything. We can create spectrum out of the good in me and the bad in me. We can create a spectrum for the spiritual side of me and the scientific side of me. So you can find every part of me on a spectrum. You can fit every quality about me on a spectrum. And this is the way you see a spectrum. So, talking about me, I'm a female, obviously. So I'm going to be on the feminine side. Like, I'm going to be on the girl side of things. So, like, more feminine than masculine, I have to be. I'm a girl. So, but I'm not your typical girl. I've been told I've been a tomboy growing up all my life. I used to never even wear girl clothes. I used to take clothes out of my brother's closet. And I used to go fishing and catching turtles and frogs. So play football with my brothers. I was very on the tomboy side. So I'm a little more masculine than most females are. I stand up for myself. I speak my mind. I don't know. I have issues in relationships because of it. But that's just because I've been trained to stand on my own 2 feet. But I find myself alone, so I just have to be everything, you know. So to stand my ground has just always been a part of me, and to always have to have strong roots so that I can keep on keeping on has just always been a part of me. I feel like I'm balanced, but I guess I tend to be more on the masculine side of things. more than desired. This right here is the middle of the spectrum. It's the perfect shade of gray. It's accepting all aspects of myself. It's saying that I accept the masculine in me and the feminine in me, and it's having a balance of both, and accepting that there are both sides of me, and finding balance in it. And that's a perfect place to be. And every spectrum that you could create with these kind of energies, with the energies, like not physical things like boy and girl biology, that's a little more complex. I'm not sure if this theories that I'm using are for that kind of stuff, but like energy wise, like a masculine energy and a feminine energy, you always want to find a perfect shade of gray. Like it's always there. Like for me, if I had to pick where I'm at on the scale, I tend to be like, I'm a girl. This is me as a girl. This is me breaking off. Like, this could be boy, girl, and then I could be on the girl side, and then the girl breaks off into masculine and feminine, and then I would find myself in this category of masculine and feminine as a girl. I would put myself more on the masculine side of being a masculine type of female, because I have issues being submissive just because I'm like hypo independent. I guess that's the word it is called. I'm always figure myself out, and I'm always trying to decide who I am and what I became, right? So like I'm always nothing's ever constant. So you're always going to be moving back and forth through each situation and action that occurs, an event and experience in your life. You're going to find yourself going fluctuating back and forth on this scale through every situation in your life. Like you're never gonna, in an overall perspective of myself, I would say this is where I land on this scale. But when it comes to my job and going to work and just making money and getting things done and sticking to the rules and the guidelines, like I would say I'm way over here, because but I tend to be compassionate anyway. Like I feel like I'm pretty balanced in most things. And then when I get emotional, or like if I'm in a relationship or something and I really care about what people say, I tend to like, this is my nature to be here, but like maybe my significant other or my person wants me to, they think I'm being too bossy, or they think that I'm just trying to express my boundaries, but maybe they're not taking it so well. Maybe they think I'm too naggy or whatever. So they want me to be more submissive and stuff, and they might expect me to move too far that way when I'm used to being this way. So everything, those are leaps of faith. Those are leaps of faith when you find yourself moving erratically on these spectrums, because most of the time it's attached to your subconscious, and your character is more attached to your subconscious than it is consciously. So like you won't really see yourself consciously. You can see yourself moving back and forth, but subconsciously you don't really. It takes time to get from one point to the other, to meet people halfway. But if the more you put in is what you get out. It takes work. Everything good takes work. So like, when you're meeting people, like say you meet somebody way over here and you're meeting your opposite, you have all that potential of learning how to meet each other halfway. So like, that's a lot of perspectives to cover in a masculine and feminine category of life, to understand each other and meet each other halfway. But that's the perfect shade of gray. And if you can meet each other there, boy, then you can become, mesh your ideas and everything together, and with the Coriolis effect, and you can become a creator. Boys and girls are meant to be creators together, so we're supposed to blend together like a Coriolis effect so that we can create, which is children. Like, but the universe does it in a grander manner. It's so freaking awesome how everything ties together, and it all works with sacred geometry. And I'm going to stop here because I feel my mind just going into outer space again, and I didn't. This is all the information that I had lined up to give you guys. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this last part of this video. It's from the same spirit science video that I played earlier, but it shows how the source breaks off. And it kind of explains it kind of gives you a picture of the theory that I'm speaking of and an idea of what I'm working with in my head. So that's what I'll leave you with the video, but I thank you for following me. I'm going to keep on keeping on. I appreciate all my support, guys. Comment, make comments, like my videos. I appreciate you all. We're going to keep on diving in. Another video is coming soon. Thank you so much. See you next time.
It was found in Ireland, Turkey, Israel, Egypt, China, Greece, Germany, India, and Iceland. It's also been recorded to have been found in England, Tibet, Japan, Sweden, Lapland, the Yucatan, and I think 14 other places. This thing is everywhere. Not only that, but everywhere around the world it has the same name, the flower of life. Now, to understand the flower of life, first we have to talk about how it's formed. This could get incredibly complex, so I'll try and keep it simple. Imagine consciousness, or spirit, floating in a void, which means it's nothingness, and then spirit. No physical body or mind, just spirit, and that's it. Then blackness, essentially nothing, all around the spirit, for infinite. Spirit decides to do something, so it expands its consciousness all around itself as far as it can go without moving. It creates a sphere around itself. This is the first circle in the flower of life. Then, spirit has an awareness of what's around itself in 360 degrees. It moves to the very edge of the sphere anywhere and repeats what it did the first time. It creates this image, which also creates the Vesica Pisces. Within the Vesica Pisces is a vast and incredible amount of knowledge about width, proportion, depth. Also comes the square roots of 2, 3, and 5, which are all numbers that go on forever. But even more interestingly, comes geometric information about light. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now, spirit has no choice but to do it again. Spirit is flawless, and therefore it will move flawlessly, creating the next circle either here or here, exactly one radius away from the other circle next to it. Every time spirit moves another sphere, more and more knowledge comes out of the image that is created. The first complete image to be formed is this. It has two names, the seed of life, or the Genesis pattern, and for good reason. Now, let's look at the book of Genesis for a second. Each of these movements, or creations of circles, can be seen as another day. On the first movement, the second sphere, it created knowledge about not only mathematical proportions, but light. The first sentence of Genesis says, "The earth was without form and void, and that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." In the very next sentence, God says, "Let there be light." The key here is in the order. The movement happened first, then light happened immediately after. Well, but what about the waters? Well, you have to remember, the Bible has been changed over time a lot. The ancient Egyptians would say that the way our modern Bibles begin creation is impossible, especially if you think about it from a physics point of view. Imagine a dark, infinite space that goes on forever and ever in all directions. You're just floating there with nothing. You can't really fall, but where would you fall to? From a purely physics or mathematical point of view, motion itself, or kinetic energy, is absolutely impossible in a void. You can't even rotate, because motion cannot become real unless there is one other object in the space around you. So the ancient Egyptians would say that before God moved upon the face of the waters, it would first have to create something to move relative to. So, Genesis pattern, after 3 spheres, you get the Holy Trinity. Another interesting one, it says in many Bibles of the world, not just the Christian Bible, that on the 4th day of Genesis, exactly 1/2 of creation was completed. Starting from the first motion, exactly 1/2 of the circles were formed on the 4th day. 5th day of Genesis, 6th circle, more information, and then on the 6th day, a geometric miracle takes place. The last circle forms a complete 6-petaled flower. This is what many earlier Bibles meant when they said, "In the beginning there were 6." Our Bible even said creation was formed in 6 days, and this fits exactly. This is the pattern of Genesis, and so it's called the Genesis pattern. It's also the beginning of the creation of the universe that we live in. These original movements of spirit are really important, but now let's look at something even